Alright, I think I got everything set up, so let's get into it and start with our movie puzzle for today. We got 10 minutes. Ready, set, let's go. We got a long name, but it is a hyphenate. Yeah, we're gonna have to try to speed through this one. So the first clue was Picard, obviously Patrick Stewart, Tropic Thunder. I think this is gonna be Jack Black. Alright, yeah, I know who this is. We're good. Shrek 2. I'm not sure because the names that come to mind initially are Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy, Cameron Diaz, I believe John Lithgow, but none of those are the right number of letters. Oh, is this Antonio Banderas again? Yeah, it might be. Mission Impossible Ghost Pro. I feel like we've had all these before. Did they, like, reuse it? Yeah. I think this is a repeat of one we had recently. Yunsu, hi, hello, welcome in. What are you sorry about? Mentor. Oh, no worries. I hope you had a good stream and everything went well with the, you were doing the, uh, reading tonight, right? Okay, Nino Pana's book. Okay, yeah. I saw them in chat with the puzzles as well. I usually can only stick around for the puzzles just because of when I get off work, but I try to at least pop in and hang out for a little bit with that. Whoa! Thank you very much for gifting 5 subs to the community. I appreciate that. Oh, my notification's not working. I need to get that fixed. The rest of them seem to be working. But anyway, yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I hope everyone who got a sub gets emotes and ad-free viewing. Yeah, no worries. I get that a lot just because of like when I switched my username to 54, I was like, oh, I doubt anyone has that. And then someone did. I was like, oh, let's put a one underscore after it. Nope, someone had that, so I had to do 2 underscores. So that's why with my channel icon as well, I have the 2 dashes under the 5-4. But yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you again for the subs. Um, Oh, nice. I appreciate that. Up the Mariners. I think that's right. Oh, so Jeremy Irons is not right. Oh no. If I can spell, it's right. Uh, when's your next stream? Okay, you're back on Monday. Nice. All right, yeah. Have a good weekend as well. It's Super Bowl weekend. Don't know if you're into football, but Super Bowl's big weekend anyways, so and it's happening like 30 minutes away from me, so that should be exciting. Uh, not all sports, but mainly football, yes. How much we got? 3 minutes left on our puzzle. Like I said, it's weird. We've had this one before in the last 2 weeks. They're getting lazy. You like the Hail Mary high? Oh, the Hail Mary highlight. Yeah. Well, the kicking really should be the easiest part. For 1981. Well, I know that's a J. Okay, so there's Oscar Isaac. Double C. Yeah, we know this one already. I'll just fill it out so I don't have to keep checking the timer. Yeah, the Hail Marys get kind of crazy in football, more so in like college, because I think they let them get away with more. But yeah, it can get kind of crazy. So it looks like we got all the ones we guessed. Like I said, I think we've had this one before. Yeah, Michelle Monaghan for Ghost Protocol, Henry Fonda for 81, probably for On Golden Pond. Henry Fonda, man, he's in so many great movies. Oh yeah, Jeffrey Wright for Quantum of Solace. It's getting bigger in the UK. Yeah, they do a few games. They've been spreading more and more with the international series. I know they have a couple in different places in the UK, but they've been expanding to like Germany and France, I want to say, or maybe Spain. And I know Mexico as well. But as far as European cities, I know they had one in Germany this past year. I think yeah, two or three in the UK in different places. But right, finished our puzzle, continued our 100% success rate, even though this one was a repeat. We figured it out. Nuh-uh, Rad, you're a repeat. How you doing, bud? Hope your day's going well. Alright, so done with our movie puzzle. I do have redeems if anyone wants to do more movie puzzles. You can use some channel points and we can do some more. Or we can get on to doing some writing. It's a day. Yeah, I kind of feel that. Uh, yeah, I haven't been sleeping great recently, so I am very tired currently. But I want to make sure we get some writing done, or at least try to. That's the goal, at least. Okay, when we last left off, we were in San Francisco. And I've been trying to think about this. Uh, while I'm at the office, I try to get out as much as I can in general, but also to just, not be sitting staring at the screen all day. So I try to take walks around the building to stretch my legs some and just get up and move around. And I try to use that time also to just think about different things I'm writing, because I have something I'm writing on my own right now, and I'm trying to finish up a couple pieces of that. So sometimes I'll just kind of turn things over in my head about that. And then I'm also trying to also think about this one as well, because there's some stuff that I want to kind of fix, or issues that have come up that I know are issues but haven't figured out a solution to. So I try to um, mull those over kind of as I walk, because it gives me some free time to just walk and think and let my mind run. Do you have a favorite screenplay you've ever worked on? That's tough. It really depends kind of on the mood I'm in. Um, yeah, because I've written probably 8 to 10, I want to say, that I've like completely written all the way through. They're probably, a lot of them are in desperate need of some rewrites and probably some updates and edits and stuff, but I probably have around that many that I've worked on. Um, yeah, usually I'll just like hyper fixate on one and work on it until I know it frontwards and backwards, and then like, all right, I'm done with this for a while, and I'll just move on to the next one. And usually, the way I always, or I've started to realize, the way I look at my screenplays is I focus on whatever interests me the most at the time. Because at the end of last year, I was working on edits to a kind of small horror movie that I was well, like horror slasher movie I was working on. Because I've done a couple passes through it, and I was like, I really want to get back into it because I think I can get it to a good place. And I was working on it for a while, and then with end of year and all the time off and holidays and stuff, I kind of don't write as much in that time. And then when I came back at the beginning of the year, I was really focused on another screenplay. Like it just kind of something about it stuck in my head, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna put this one on the back burner and focus on this other one. And I've been on focusing on that one, trying to finish it up. Um, and that one that I'm working on in my own time is probably the most like personal to me thing that I've written so far. Um, so I don't know if that makes it better or worse, but yeah, there's a lot of me in it, so to speak. Yeah, yeah, it definitely also helps from getting burnt out because, like, I always believe when that writer's block is bullshit. Like, I don't think it's a real thing. I think it really is probably burnout most of the time. And so, like, if I ever get stuck on something, I'll do my best to just grind through it. Like, if I write bad stuff for a while, like, that's fine. I can come back and rewrite it. But, yeah, when you can't get over the burnout hump or get over whatever you're stuck on, yeah, sometimes it's better to just switch to something else for a while and come back to it. You actually just started planning for first short story project today. Nice, brainstorming some initial ideas for a horror. Ooh, nice. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of horror movies, and so that's why I only have one horror screenplay, but it's just because the idea I came up with for it I really liked, and so I was like, yeah, I have to write this because I just like the idea a lot. But generally, I tend to gravitate more towards either like sci-fi realism or fantasy realism, or like sci-fi drama, fantasy drama are kind of my two main um, genres that I stick into. I think that's an interesting perspective. Having different projects with variety can help you switch off. Yeah, yeah, definitely. And like I said, while I have kind of the main stuff that I tend to write, it's good having something different that can, change gears, kind of get your brain working in a different way. But yeah, that's also why I wanted to do something different on stream and not bring something that I was already working on because I wanted to kind of force myself. I wanted to force myself out of my box of what I like to write, but I ended up um, we're doing a fantasy drama romance, which is, kind of my jam. So it might have been that I kind of leaned into that, but it is what it is. Okay, so where we left off last time was late 1800s in San Francisco. And we started outlining some elements of what's going to happen from Helene's perspective. And then we jumped to Margaret's perspective of it and having their stories intersect again. So a lot of that is going to stay. We're just going to change how it plays out a bit. Because one of the issues I had is if Helene discovers something in San Francisco, she's not going to wait a long time before acting on it. So I think we need to get Margaret there and then have her discover the building run by the hunters with the other prisoners. So we're going to be changing up a lot of when things happen, but not necessarily what happens. So we're going to start back up. Just call this San Francisco, if I can type. San Francisco sequence. Alright. So many years later, post 1870, like I said, we can write like 1870 to probably 1900. Somewhere in that time frame. Gives us 30 years. We got a rough idea of when we are. And then we're just going to give ourselves some space because we got to change some stuff. Helene is summoned to San Francisco by Serafina. Alright, so we got Helene, one of our witches, summoned to San Francisco by Serafina. She's the leader of our Dianic witches, which Helene is a member of. And as is normal with Helene, she questions why she's there. Have you found this way of planning to be the best for you, or do you change depending on the project? Initially, when I was writing stuff, I would jump into the actual screenwriting way too early, which has some good and some bad to it. The good is that you discover more while you're writing, and you know, sometimes that can be good because you can immerse yourself more in the moment, but the more structured and filled out the outline is for me, I've found more recently, it makes it so much easier as I'm writing to just have, okay, here's what's going next, and as we've been laying out this outline specifically, pretty much every time I stream, we go back to what we wrote the previous stream, and I'm like, alright, this is close to what I wanted, but I need to change all of this stuff in it. And it's a lot easier to shift around stuff in an outline. And then once you have it clearly laid out, to me at least, it's a lot easier to write the scene when you know, okay, here's all the stuff I need to hit along the scene. That being said, you also don't want to be completely beholden and not willing to change anything if you're in the actual writing process and your outline doesn't necessarily hit where kind of the story is going to you. So you have to be flexible enough to, if you need to change things on the fly, be able to change them. But for me, outlining is a big yes. Okay, so Helene questions why she's there. Serafina tells her she's going to be in charge of running their man. Some days I cannot type. Dianic, which is West Coast operations. Yeah, I need an apostrophe after that. Yeah, so kind of how quickly the country is expanding. They need to have more outposts.
I like this one.
Thanks for following, Mariners. Did you get... Yeah, okay. You got the sub first and then the follow. I like it. I've done that before. Yeah, this part is what I was looking for. Yeah, our Dianic Witches have been expanding in recruiting and trying to build stronger alliances. And then we want the photograph taken early on as well. And then everything else waits. Major! Hi, hello, welcome in. How's your day going? It's been a day. Have you found a new job yet, Major? 'Cause I think you need a new job. Major's not copying, Rad. She had an ellipses in hers. Close enough? Oh, okay. Alright, so we're changing the beginning of our San Francisco stuff. More setting up that Helene is there, why she is there, all the action and the plot stuff's gonna happen later. Changed her test answers a little so it wasn't obviously cheating. I have no idea what you're talking about, Rad. Alright, and then everything with... fox and everything else, we're gonna show that later. And then I think we set up Helene starting to look for the group that's been taken. Yeah. Probably need a more inventive way of doing this, but we can just write the most straightforward part now and rewrite it later. Let's see. Helene is approached by someone. Um, yeah, let's put it that. And then we set up what we're going to get into with Helene later. So somehow someone is able to give her a lead on witches in the area being abducted. So that is when we go back to Margaret. And her section is going to stay largely the same from the start. Yeah, all that can stay. Okay. So we needed to do this because everything with Helene looking for the abducted witches needs to happen after Margaret is there. Because it's going to lead to what causes this version of the relationship to break up. Because as I was thinking about this section, the thing I kind of realized is, or the question I kept asking is like, what could cause them, Helene and Margaret, to not just stay together at this point? Like, what would push them apart? And so I was thinking of other movies that had this kind of relationship. And as I was thinking about them, I thought of a couple, and the thing it always falls back to is character motivation. So we know what both characters want. While they're not diametrically opposed, they're not in alignment either. And so that's where the conflict is going to come from. So Margaret wants to find and be with Helene. Helene wants to help, wants to make sure all witches are, you know, able to live free. And so that's where things are going to go wrong for them. So we have to kind of show that And so when we get into Helene going to help the witches, that's her going after her want, her desire. She wants to help witches. She sees them in captivity. She finds out they're being experimented on. She wants to go in. She wants to save them. And Margaret does not. So, we got to figure out how that comes to a head. And how they initially cross paths. Okay, that's a lot. So, I don't think we're going to use the fox to help Margaret find Helene, because we have not introduced it yet. But we are going to have Margaret find Helene. And obviously, Helene doesn't recognize her as Margaret. She introduces herself as Maggie or some other name. So we also don't have that. Okay, so now we're both of our characters out when they meet at this moment. Margaret is very much on the way to achieving her goal. She's found Helene again. She's going to do everything she can to stay with her. Helene has been given this tip about people disappearing, or witches being abducted. So she's investigating that. So at this point, they meet again. No, I didn't want all that, just Helene. And this ties back into something else that was bothering me, because if we had Margaret show up and admit she's a witch, then that indicates she's starting to embrace being a witch, but she can't yet. That's the lesson she needs to learn at the end. So for now, she has to continue to hide and not admit that. So for this sequence, we probably need to figure out some meet cute for them to kind of jumpstart it because we want very quickly to show that there's still a connection. What that would be, I do not yet know. We will think about it. Yeah. But while that's going on, Helene is continuing to investigate. Okay, that needs to be up there. Excuse me. So, Helene would question if it's the hunters doing it. Yeah, we need an apostrophe. Helene would question if it's the hunters, as the witches are being rounded up instead of being executed. So that would sound odd to her, because in her experience, the hunters find a witch, the hunters kill the witch. So if they're just disappearing, she's not sure why that's happening. So we know the hunters trying new methods of dealing with the witches, and they're performing experiments. On those they abduct. Helene is unaware Margaret is a witch, or that Margaret is Margaret. Alright, yeah, we can just add that note there. That's fine. So as we have Margaret and Helene back together, showed there's an instant connection, there's still sparks between them. We need to find a way for them to meet to kickstart that. But Helene is still on a mission. So, when So then we want to intercut Helene's investigation with the progression of her relationship with Margaret. We have tried chasing waterfalls, or are we just sticking to the waterways we're used to? I understand the reference. I might just be missing a connection. And this is way off topic, whatever. When that song originally came out, it was on MTV like constantly. But I, for the longest time, did not know what they were saying in the like chorus section. Like obviously, "Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls," obvious like title of the song. But the part after that, "Please stick to the rivers and the lakes you're used to," or something like that. Like for whatever reason, I could never figure those words out. And then I heard it more recently, we'll say, and like it clicked in my head. I was like, "Oh, that's what they were saying." I know you're gonna have to have it your way or nothing at all, but I think you're moving too fast. Are we gonna turn the stream into Fiddy's dramatic reading of 90s pop songs? Waterfalls was your jam? Yeah, I think it was everyone's jam. It's a rock solid song. One of the first cassette. Oh. I have a funny story about a early cassette I owned very briefly. Um, so around the same time that song came out, I think a little bit after, um, there was a really popular song on MTV, um, "Crossroads" by Bone Thugs and Harmony. If you know that song, it's about one of the guys in the group or one of the friends of the guys of the group had died, and so it was kind of more of like a ballad, a tribute to the person who died. And like it was a super popular song, and uh, I knew nothing about Bone Thugs and Harmony outside of that one song. And so um, one day we were out and I got the cassette and it had like the um, explicit whatever parental advisory sticker on it, and I was like, oh no, like the song I heard has nothing bad in it. It's a super cool song. Like it's very laid back and um, it's about their friend who died. And so um, wherever I think I got it at they had like a music store at the outlet malls we would go to near where I grew up. And so when we were driving back, I talked my stepmom into playing it because I wanted to hear Crossroads. Um, and I had three siblings at the time too. Um, and they all liked the song too, so we were all into it. And so they put it in. And if you know the rest of Bone Thugs and Harmony's music, Um, Very quickly, we realized why there was the um, parental guidance sticker on the cassette. And it's not like it's a CD where you could just like skip ahead to the song you want to hear. With it being a cassette, like you just gotta listen to it. So yeah, I like I said, I had that cassette for a very short period of time. Yeah, that was uh that was something. But yeah, Crossroads was super good song around that same time too. Okay. Um what were you doing? I have no idea what's happening. I am very tired. Ugh. Um all right, yeah. Helene's investigating. Margaret's there with her. So then as the stuff with the wolf, I'm yeah, I might end a little early, I don't know, but it's still only, 6 o'clock. I just haven't been sleeping great because for some reason, um, I'm getting old. My hip is like decides to be very like uh, just like it feels uncomfortable, and especially if like I try to sleep on my side, on that particular side, like it's just like, nah, you're waking up right now. I'm like, I just want to sleep. Stop being dumb, hip. Chill out, listen to some Crossroads. Yeah, I don't think I've listened to that song since all that happened, except in like passing here or there, but yeah. Um, okay. So I think what needs to happen is all the stuff with the fox, or at least some of the stuff with the fox, leading Helene to a building. I don't think she discovers that yet. Okay, yeah, all this stuff. We're gonna leave a space there because there might be something else we need to do. So Helene starts investigating. All the while, her relationship with Margaret is building. We have the fox approach Helene, lead her to the location. She wants to help but can't do it alone. So, then I think Helene leaves to try and figure out her next step. She meets up with Margaret and tells her everything. Main question here is, how does Margaret respond? Damn, I keep capitalizing the A. Alright. We're going to think about this while I take a quick break. And we play some words on stream. Maybe, if it loads, will it load? Hey! Yeah, I just had to refresh it, it's fine. Alright, I'm gonna start it up. Have fun. All the stuff. I'll be back shortly. 3, 2, 1, go. Dang, Major getting both the 7-letter words. Alright, I'll start another round while I refill my water. Once again, I need to look at the words already on the board. I was just about to write that, Major. Major showing off tonight. Yeah, Major said she's done letting anyone win. Major with a 72 points. Rad with a solid 40, and I helped. Yes, I participated. Well, I mean, I put it up because I was doing other stuff, so I kind of would look at it as I was passing to see if I saw anything quickly, but okay. So we have passing, aka pooping. No, passing as in walking past and looking at my TV. You walk while you poop. No. Okay, so we have Helene and Margaret back together, but then Helene finds out the other witches are being held, and she's trying to figure out what to do next. And then she meets up with Margaret again, and I think she tells her everything. She's a witch and why she's there. Sure. She's a witch. A. Then the space. Come on, and why she's there. So now, put in that position, how does Margaret respond? Sherry knows Helene's a witch, but Helene does not know that she knows. And what she wants is to be with Helene, so she would be willing to go along with some amount of stuff. But I don't think she would admit she's a witch. Yeah, she can't admit she's a witch because, like I said, that would make us think she's starting to embrace being a witch, and that's something she can't do until the end, because that's what she needs to learn. Yeah, and she. Okay, yeah. So Margaret holds her cards close. Doesn't admit she's a witch. So not sure what help she could be. Right? So she's not admitting she's a witch, and that gives her an out. That if Helene's like, hey, I have to deal with this thing, Margaret can be like, I can't do shit to help you. When really she's afraid of being found out by the hunters again. Yeah, that's how she responds. I may have missed it when we discussed, but which witch is Brie Larson going to be? Oh, yeah. Um, that reminds me, I have thoughts on that. Yeah, so we'll think about this. We'll come back to it. So I actually have ideas for some of our main characters. So we'll start with Margaret slash. We'll start with. I think Helene is Brie Larson. Um, Part of the reason is pretty sure she has French ancestry, so her in this role I think would be the most fitting. As for Margaret, I've gone back and forth between a couple of actresses that I kind of think could work. Um, because they're English, I think having an English actress makes most sense. Sage! Hi, hello, welcome in. How you doing? Hope your back is doing alright. Chillin' wants dinosaurs and lasers, by the way. Maybe we work it in during post. uh, maybe. Um, yeah, but well, there's two actresses that I go back and forth between, but I'm leaning towards one over the other. But it's Daisy Ridley or Vanessa Kirby. But I think both of them kind of fit what we're going for. English. So much stuff happening in chat. Okay, yeah, we got Major shouting out Sage, Rad shouting out Major. Major is super dope and always right. Yes, that is all correct. The hunters are just going to be whoever, I don't care. For Bryn, because she's Irish, I looked up Irish actresses. There were really only two that I was leaning towards, but I think kind of leaning more towards Saoirse Ronan, even though I can't spell her name. There we go. Just start writing shit and it'll eventually come up. American Irish actress. So that's who I think for Bryn. Yeah, Irish names are weird. Yes. Major, you nailed it. Way to go. If her name ever comes up in our movie puzzles, you got this. And then for Serafina, with her being of Italian, or from Italy, I was looking mainly at Italian actresses, but I did not recognize any of them. So I went for actresses with Italian heritage, and yeah, Monica Bellucci's the only name I recognized. Um, but I was leaning more towards Kristen Milotti because um, she's American but has Italian heritage. So that's who I was thinking of. But yeah, if we can get Monica Bellucci, I won't say no. But yeah, this is just who I initially have kind of in my head. Yeah, Major, she definitely could be, but with them being kind of ageless immortal witches, I feel like we can have them kind of be any age. Right? And 40 is not old, right? Uh, 40 is not old until August. 41 is a very young age. Yep. It's all relative. um, I'm not yet, cause I'm not 41 yet. Uh, yeah. So far, these are the actresses I've been thinking of, also for these roles. But the obvious thing that kind of jumped out to me is, yeah, our four of our main characters are just four white actresses. Granted, one's British, one's Irish, two American, but probably need to get some more diverse actresses into this. Yeah, we need to diversify the cast. And I mean, obviously, one of the things is I have not delved really into the hunters because I don't know how much of like an actual character any of them are going to be, or if they're just going to be a menacing, constant threat. So I think a lot of, but also like in the time frame we're thinking of, like we're keeping with who the first immigrants were and who was in the country in these locations. Rat'll be one of our witches. I appreciate your ad. Um, so obviously, as time goes on, the country gets a lot more diverse. So I think the new characters that we introduce as we progress along in the story will naturally get more diverse. So just something I noticed and something I'm sure we'll address as we go. And even like some of the smaller characters that I have like one line about, like when Helene gets sent to another Dianic Witch outpost, and some of the other Dianic Witches we can have be from different places. So we'll definitely get some people from all over in here. And obviously, all of this section. Sorry if you can hear that car alarm going off in the background. If you can't, that's good. Yes, we can. Yeah, I'm sorry. Happens like all the time. Major, thank you. For what? For just being you, Major. I don't know. Sage probably has something else in mind too, but also for that. Where was I? Okay, so we have Helene tell Margaret everything. Margaret doesn't admit she's a witch. And I think this could be where their paths diverge, where we split them up. Because I think at this point, Helene's of the mindset of, I have a job to do, I have to do it. She likes being with Margaret at this point, but if she can't help her, then she doesn't know what practical use she could be, and she's going, this is her mission to help witches in need, so if Margaret can't be of help to her at this point, then she can't be of use to her in the future doing more of this. So I feel like this is where the splinter between them can be. I don't know. That's just my initial thoughts. I don't know if that's big enough of a splinter. The other thing we can do is, like, if Helene's like, you can't help me with this, so leave, so Margaret gets thrown out, but she doesn't leave because she doesn't want to lose Helene, so she sticks around, she tries to help her, but ends up making things worse when Helene tries to rescue the captive witches. And that can be the big split. Okay. So, how do I want to say this? So, Helene's focused on saving witches because a wedge between her and Margaret. A witch wedge. Exactly. Which wedge would a witch use? If a witch used a wedge to wedge her shoes. I don't know. I think I'm starting to get slap happy. This is going great. So Helene ends it with Margaret. But Margaret doesn't. Not don't. To lose track of Helene. So she sticks around. Into okay, so if Margaret did stick around, Helene goes in to save the captive witches. Things go wrong. Margaret tries to save the day. But I don't want her to use magic. And I want her to make things worse, not better. Okay. Yeah, because that would do... Yeah. Yeah. Because not only does she not follow Helene's wishes when she ends it, but she makes things worse when Helene is trying to achieve her goal. And we'll also put that here. Alright, Major. Take it easy, get some sleep. We'll talk to you later. And yeah, I'm probably gonna end it soon, end stream soon too. Um, yeah, but I appreciate you. Thanks for stopping by, hanging out, doing all the stuff. Yeah, so we got everything between Margaret and Helene goes wrong, gets worse, and Margaret is seen by the hunters. So that's what leads her to like, alright, starting again, and shapeshifts her face again. So all that we can cut out. Okay, yeah, I think that fixes some of the issues here. And then I already kind of have that. Yeah, I thought I had some new thoughts about the end, but I think it's already stuff that's in there. Okay. Yeah, we made it an hour and a half still. Didn't quite hit all the way up to 2 hours, but we kind of fixed the way some things happen, or when things happen. And I think this structurally works a bit better. So, yeah, next time we're going to have to figure out when they meet again, or we still have kind of the ending to figure out as well. So, yeah, I think this is where we're going to call stream for today. Let me see if anyone else is streaming still. Okay. Slash raid. Yeah. Alright, we're gonna go raid over to Shay. She was playing Dead by Daylight. Earlier I was watching a little before my stream. Yeah. What's the things I do at the end of stream? Oh, next stream, with this Sunday being Super Bowl Sunday, I am not going to stream during that, so I will either stream on Saturday afternoon or just skip the weekend and pick up next week. Go Superb Owl. Yes. Yes, exactly, Rad. Yeah, so that's the plan for the next stream. Yeah, thank you everyone stopped by, hung out. We got some new follows, some new subs. Yunsu gifted 5. Appreciate you. Um, Rad says go Pats. That's not who I'm betting on. Yeah, we'll see what happens with the game. Yeah, everyone have a good weekend, and I will see you when I see you. Okay, thanks, bye.
Is your survivor mate? I'm so sorry. My cat likes to hop on my chest and gently comb my beard with her claws. That's adorable. This is a sick